Hi guys! In this video I will teach you some tips that can be useful for you to improve your learning in AutoCAD. So let's see the contents of this video. How to insert and edit dimension lines. How to add layers, edit them, or changing objects from one layer to another. How to insert text. And finally, how to print a project with a specific scale. Okay, I will start explaining how to insert a dimension line, like in this case I show you here. If I type with the keyboard dim linear, or alternatively you can switch here to annotate and then click in this icon. Now I can insert a new dimension line, and here is where several people have issues. As you see, the numbers are too small. This is because AutoCAD has standard dimension sizes that doesn't matter what you are drawing, so the numbers can be too big or too small. This means that I have to open my Dimension Style Manager, and I can do it by clicking this button. Alternatively, I can also use the command dim style. So first, I recommend you to create a new dimension style, so you can use it later in another drawings. Here, I will type the name of my new style, for example, floor plan, and I will choose standard measurements. I click on continue. As you see, the Dimension Style Manager is quite complex, with a lot of things that I can edit. However, with a few changes, I can put my dimension lines in a good size. So first, I will go to Symbols and Arrows tab, and I will change my arrow size, which is too small. The distance that I show you here is 300, so I can put for my arrow size a little bit less, for example 100. So the second thing I will edit is my text. If I go to the text height, I can see that it's too small again. I will put 100 as before. Now I can click in OK and here close. To activate my changes, I have to click on my dimension line and change here to floor plan. As you see, this looks now much better. But this is not exactly what I want, because I want my units displayed in meters, like here. Okay, I will open again my Dimension Style Manager, and I'm going to modify it. In Primary Units tab, I will change my precision to only 2 decimals. As a suffix, I will put m of meters. Finally, because I want to change from millimeters to meters, I have to set up the scale factor as 0.001. I click OK and close. So I could finally put my dimension as I want. In the next part, I will show you how to work with layers, and for that I will be using this floor plan. So I will open the Layer Properties Manager, clicking in this icon over there, or typing layer with my keyboard. If you look in this list here, I have separated in layers different categories of objects. For example, I create a layer called Doors for the doors I have in this drawing. The layer Windows is obviously for the windows. And I did the same for the other elements. Now I'm going to show you how to edit layers. For each layer, there are few options that I can change. I'm going to start with the color. For example, I will click in the color of the layer dimensions, and I will change it from orange to green. I recommend you to use light colors if you are working in a darker workspace like mine. But now you may think, if I use light colors and I want to print in a white paper, they might be difficult to see. For example, in my case, the dimension lines are hard to see. But hopefully there is an option that I can change the color of this layer just in the viewport. I will drag this window to the right and there will be more options for the layer properties. This column named as VP Color shows the printing color of each layer. Then I'm going to change the color for the dimensions. So I want this yellow a bit darker in my paper. Now it's much easier to see the dimension lines. Finally, one important thing. Any layer that is in white in the model space will automatically be black on my paper. Aside from the colors, I can change the line type clicking here. Now if I go to load, I can see all these options. For example, I will choose this type. Now I select it again here and click OK. But if you look to the drawing, it looks like that the line type hasn't changed. And we can only see it if we zoom a lot. However, if we switch to the Layout tab, we are able to see the dash line properly. And in the paper will be exactly like this. To change the line weight, I click here and I can choose the size that I want. I select this of 1 mm for example and click OK. Now you may notice that nothing has changed in the drawing, because by default all the lines are displayed with the same size, as it's easier to work. But don't worry, because when you print they will be with the right line weights. In any case, if you want to display them on the screen, just click on this icon. Now I'm going to show you how to insert a new layer. I will right click anywhere in this box and then click on New Layer. After, I type the name for the layer, for example line. Now I can edit the layer as I want. For example, I will change the color to red. Now if I want, I can edit the layer as I did before. If you look here, you can see this tick in the layer dimensions. This means that this layer is currently selected. So if I draw, for example, a line now, it will be displayed in the layer dimensions, as it's in orange like the others. Also, this tab shows the layer that is currently active. If I want to move an object to another layer, it's simple. First, I have to select my object. Then I click in this tab and choose the layer that I want to move to. And I choose line. Here it is, and also in red color. In this part I will show you how to turn off a layer. It's simple, you may see these lights here. If I click in one of them, I switch off the layer. So I will switch off the layer doors, and if you look to the drawing, you can notice that the doors disappeared. Now imagine that I want to switch off all the layers except the layer doors, for example. To do that, I double click in doors to activate it. After, I click with the right button. Now I click on select all but current. I click in the light of one of the selected and all of them switch off. This is great if we need to select all the objects of a specific layer. Another thing, I can also click on the sun next to the light. This freezes the layer, and apparently does exactly the same as turning it off, but the difference is, with freeze, it's like deleting the layer temporarily. This is useful for complex drawings with dozens of layers, so if I freeze a bunch of them, AutoCAD may use less memory. Now I want to show you how I can insert text. It's very simple and there are two ways to do it. The first way I show you here is to insert a single line text. To do it, I will click in the arrow under the icon text and select single line text. If you cannot find it, you can also type with your keyboard text. Okay, now I will click where I want to insert my text. The first thing, I have to specify the text height, which will be the size of the line that I draw now. Then I will insert the direction of the text. As I want my text horizontal, I draw a line in this direction. I click and I can now type my text. As you see, it's like the text above, but a bit bigger. When I finish, I click somewhere with my mouse and then ESC. Now, if I want to add text with the same size as this one, I click on my text, then right click in the blue square, go to Quick Properties, and here we can see the height of this text, which is 360. Now I close. So I will insert a new text, and this time I will type 360 for the text height. And by doing this, it will match the size of the text above. So you can see that both texts have the same size. Now I will show you a trick to add multiple titles with the same size. I type copy, select this text, type enter, click in the text, and click again in the places where I want to copy it. As you see, this is very useful for floor plans. Now, when I finish, I just double click in each text to edit it. For example, this one, I write kitchen, and I do the same for all the rooms. Okay, so the second way to add text is multi-line text. If I click in the same arrow, now I choose multi-line text, or I can type with the keyboard mtext or just T. Now this way will open a text box, and I have to specify the horizontal range of the text. So when the text overflows the space, it goes automatically onto the next line. I can click here, and now I can start writing. The multi-line text is better when we want to insert long text. In this tab, we have all the options to edit our text, and here we can change the text height. In the last part of this video, I will show you how to print a drawing with a specific scale. As an example, I will be using the site plan, and I want to print it in a scale of 1/200. This procedure is not difficult, but it has several steps. If it looks a bit confusing for you, don't worry, because after 2 or 3 times of practice, you will get it. Okay, if you look in this part of the screen, you can see those tabs here. This one that says Model is our current workspace. And as you know, this is where we make all the drawings. Now I am going to switch to Layout 1. I click, and here you can see a sheet of paper with all the drawings that I have in this file. This is the paper space for printing, and it has this paper size set by default, so we may have to change it depending on the scale that we need. Okay, now I want to show you a characteristic of the layout, the viewport, which is this rectangle here. This is like a portal which displays the area that I will print. For example, I will click on the viewport, then I select this point on the corner, and I move it a little bit to this way. As you see, the viewport became smaller, and also this part of the drawing is now hidden and will not be in the printing. So, in the layout, we have 2 different modes. Paper, which is the current one, and Model. When we have the paper active and I scroll with the mouse wheel, I do zoom in on my workspace. Also, if I hold the wheel to use the pan, I can move all the paper around. I'm going to switch to the model by double-clicking inside the viewport or clicking in this button here. So, if I move and zoom, we'll only work inside the viewport, and the scale of printing is also changing. Now I'm going to put the site plan in the center of the model. So, as I want to print in a scale of 1/200, I will click in this icon to choose the scale. I have all this list. However, if the scale that I want is not here, I can create a new one, clicking in Custom. I will choose 1/200. And as you can see, my drawing has zoomed a lot, meaning that my paper is too small for this scale, and I have to change it to a bigger one. To change the paper size, I go to Layout 1, right click, and choose Page Setup Manager. Now I click on Modify, and I'm now in the Page Setup window. Here I can choose the printer and the paper size. First, I'm going to click here to choose the printer. As I want to export as PDF, I will choose DWG to PDF. Remember that DWG is the extension for AutoCAD files. Now, in the ribbon below, I can choose the paper size. I'm going to select A1 because I already know that it will fit. But if in your case you don't know the size, you have to try different ones to find appropriate. Finally, I click in OK, and then close. As you can see, I have now a much bigger paper. So what I need now is to increase the viewport and fit the drawing. I click in the corner and drag it to the other side. As I am in the paper mode, I double click inside to switch it to the model so that I can drag the drawing to fit it in the center. Okay, so you may notice that this part is not fitting, so I have to increase the viewport a bit. Okay, I have increased my viewport. However, if I print now, the viewport will also appear in the paper. So, if I don't want it there are two options. I can drag the viewport to outside of the paper, or I can create a special layer for a viewport and then freeze it. I will show you the second option. I will open the Layers window. I right click inside the window and select New Layer. I name it as Viewport, for example. Then I select the viewport and click here to change the layer to Viewport. Finally, I click again in the same ribbon and click in this icon to freeze it. Okay, now I cannot see the viewport. Finally, I'm ready to print, but before, it's important to confirm that my scale is correct. I switch again to Model, and we can confirm the scale of 1/200. To print, I go to Layout 1 tab, right click and choose Plot. Once I have my printer selected, I can click in OK. Now save. And here is my drawing in PDF with the scale of 1/200. So, this is all from my side. If you enjoyed this tutorial, subscribe to watch more videos and get notified of new updates. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.